Jonas McKenna's hands shook as he gripped the Winchester. 300 Apache warriors stood motionless on the hills surrounding his ranch, silent as tombstones. The rising sun behind them cast long black shadows across his land, swallowing every escape route. He turned his head. Through the open doorway, he could see her, the Apache woman, lying on his dead wife's bed. Blood stained the sheets. Bandages wrapped around her torn feet. He'd carried her inside just 12 hours ago, found her collapsed on the red dirt road. Now this. A single warrior separated from the formation, riding slowly toward the house. His horse's hooves crunched on dry earth, each step deliberate, final. The woman inside moaned, weak, fading. Jonas lowered the rifle. His fingers found the door handle. Everything he'd ever known about survival was about to shatter. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments, along with the city you're watching from. Now, let's continue with the story. The door swung open. The warrior sat motionless on his horse, face weathered like old leather. A scar ran down his left cheek, deep, ancient. He said nothing, just stared. Jonas stepped back. His hand hovered near the rifle propped against the wall, but he didn't reach for it. The warrior dismounted in one fluid motion and walked past him into the house. No permission asked, none given. Jonas's heart hammered against his ribs. Sweat soaked through his shirt despite the morning chill. The warrior moved straight to the bedroom. Jonas followed, keeping distance, watching the old man kneel beside the bed. Weathered hands checked the bandages on the woman's feet, touched her forehead. No fever. His eyes swept the room, clean sheets, a bowl of water on the nightstand, untouched food on a plate. The woman Dahana remained unconscious, her breathing shallow but steady. Outside, Jonas's dog Rusty barked frantically. The sound cut through the silence like a blade. Rusty never barked like that, never. The warrior stood and turned, his eyes locked onto Jonas with an intensity that made his stomach drop. When he spoke, his English came slow and deliberate. "You touch her?" Jonas shook his head. His throat felt packed with sand. "You chain her." The warrior stepped closer. The smell of leather and campfire smoke filled the small room. "You sell her." Jonas shook his head again. Words wouldn't come. The warrior raised his hand. 5 more warriors entered the house, moving like shadows. They began searching. Every cabinet, every drawer, under the washstand, behind the cast-iron stove. Jonas stood frozen. His mind raced through every item in this house, trying to remember what they might find, what they might misunderstand. One warrior dropped to his knees, reaching under the bed where Dahana lay. His hand emerged holding something. An iron chain, old, rusted. Jonas had used it years ago to secure the barn door. The warrior held it up to the light streaming through the window. The old man's eyes narrowed. He looked at Jonas, then at the chain, then back at Jonas. 5 bows came up in unison. Arrows knocked, strings drawn tight, all aimed at Jonas's chest. Jonas didn't speak. He couldn't not with 5 arrowheads gleaming in the lamplight. All pointed at his heart. Instead, he moved. Slowly, he dropped to his knees. The warriors tensed, strings creaking tighter. Jonas raised both hands, showing empty palms, then reached toward the chain lying on the floor. The old warrior, Nantan. Jonas would learn his name later, watched without blinking. Jonas pushed the chain aside with one finger. It scraped across the wooden planks. Beneath it, hidden in shadow under the bed frame, sat a small wooden box. Dust coated its lid, thick as wool. He pulled it out, set it on the floor between himself and the warriors. The box creaked open. Inside, a bone comb with 3 broken teeth, a handkerchief embroidered with yellow flowers, a small leather journal, its pages yellowed and brittle, and a photograph faded, cracked at one corner. Jonas lifted the photograph with both hands, held it where the warriors could see. A man and a woman stood before this very house. The woman wore a calico dress, her hair pinned up, smiling at something beyond the camera's eye. The man stood beside her, younger, his face not yet carved hollow by grief. Jonas placed the photograph on the bed beside Dahana. His hand trembled as he set it down, a declaration without words. This room was sacred. This bed held memory, not malice. Nantan's eyes moved from the photograph to the box to the chain. Understanding flickered across his weathered face. He gestured to the warriors, the bows lowered, not put away, but no longer drawn. Jonas stood. His knees protested, stiff from tension. He walked to the bedroom door and stopped, turning back to make sure they followed. They did, silent as smoke. He led them outside to the main road. Morning light painted the dirt path gold and red. Jonas pointed down. A trail of dried blood marked the earth. Dark brown, almost black. It led from the road to his porch, irregular drops, then drag marks where he'd carried her weight. He walked to the barn. His boots crunched on dry grass. Inside, hanging from a nail, was his shirt from yesterday. He took it down. The fabric still held rust-colored stains, Dahana's blood from when he'd carried her. Her torn feet bleeding onto his shoulder. The warriors examined the shirt, passed it between themselves. One of them, younger, perhaps 22, traced the blood-stain pattern with his finger. Jonas pointed to the water trough near the barn. A tin cup sat beside it. He'd placed cups like this every 5 miles along the road for travelers, Apache and white alike. Anyone who needed water could take it. Nantan studied Jonas for a long moment. Then he returned to the house, to the bedroom where Dahana lay. On the nightstand beside the bed sat a knife, Apache made. The handle wrapped in leather, intricate beadwork along the sheath. Dahana's knife. Nantan picked it up, drew the blade free. Steel gleamed clean, unmarked. No blood, no sign of struggle. If Jonas had meant harm, he would have taken this weapon, hidden it. But it lay in plain sight, untouched, within her reach if she woke. Nantan slid the knife back into its sheath. He looked at Jonas and gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. Outside, Rusty's barking grew more frantic. The young warrior Kaya moved to the window. He froze. Jonas came to stand beside him, looked where Kaya looked. On the northern hill, separate from the 300 warriors, stood another group. Perhaps 50 men. Horses stamping nervously. They wore their hair differently loose, not braided. Carried rifles alongside their bows. Nantan muttered something in Apache. The word sounded like a curse. Kaya turned to Jonas, speaking English with a thick accent. Cochilo's men. Jonas's stomach went cold. Who? Before Kaya could answer, a scream tore through the house. Dahana. All the warriors rushed to the bedroom. Jonas pushed through, reaching her first. She was awake, wild-eyed, gasping. Her hand shot out and grabbed Jonas's collar, pulling him down with surprising strength. Her lips moved near his ear, breath hot and desperate. 3 words in English. Barely a whisper, "They will test you." Nantan appeared in the doorway. His hand rested on the knife at his belt. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of stone. "White man, you have 3 days. We watch everything." By noon, the 300 warriors had retreated to the base of the hills. They made no fires, built no shelters, just sat on their horses in perfect rows, watching, always watching. Nantan remained at the ranch. He sat on the porch, accepting the tin cup of water Jonas offered. The old warrior drank slowly, his eyes never leaving the horizon where Cochillo's men still gathered on the northern ridge. 3 days, Nantan said, setting the cup down on the weathered planks. We watch. We see. Jonas leaned against the porch railing, keeping a respectful distance. "See what? If you are good, white man." Nantan's fingers traced the grain of the wooden armrest. "Or bad, white man." "And if I'm good?" Nantan turned to look at him, really look, as if measuring something invisible. "Then maybe peace is possible, between your people and mine." He paused. "If you are bad, war comes, and it will not stop until one side is gone." The weight of those words pressed down on Jonas's shoulders like a physical thing. He wasn't just saving one woman anymore. He was standing at the edge of something far larger than himself, a bridge between 2 worlds that had been burning each other for decades. Inside, Dahana stirred. Jonas heard the bed creak and went to check on her. She had managed to sit up, her back pressed against the headboard. Color had returned to her cheeks, faint, but there. Her feet remained bandaged, though fresh blood had seeped through the cloth during the night. "Water," she said. Her voice came out rough, scraped raw. Jonas poured from the ceramic pitcher on the nightstand. She drank in small sips, watching him over the rim of the cup. "You know who I am?" she said. Not a question. Jonas shook his head. "Only that you're important enough to bring 300 warriors to my door." A ghost of a smile crossed her cracked lips. "My father was Chief Nantaje. He led our people for 23 years. She set the cup down, her hands steadier now. "He died 6 moons ago. Sickness took him, the white man's sickness that sweeps through our camps like fire." Jonas said nothing. He knew that sickness. Smallpox had taken half the Apache children in the territory last winter. White settlers barely noticed. To them, it was just nature taking its course. After my father died, 2 men claimed the right to lead. Dahana's jaw tightened. "Mangas, he is son of our eldest shaman. He wants peace with your people. Trade. Survival." She drew a breath. "Cochillo wants war. He believes we can still push the white man back into the sea. And you," Dahana placed her hand on her stomach, a gesture so subtle Jonas almost missed it. "I carry a child. 3 moons now. I want my son to grow up in a world where he does not have to choose between dying in battle or dying in chains." Jonas understood then why she had run. Why she had stumbled onto his land with her feet torn to ribbons. She wasn't just fleeing a political enemy, she was protecting her child. "Cochillo chased you," Jonas said. "His men chased me for 2 days. I crossed onto white man's land because I knew he would not follow. His hatred of your kind would not let him set foot here." Her eyes darkened. But he found another way. Before Jonas could ask what she meant, her gaze fell on the knife lying on the nightstand. She reached for it, turning it over in her hands. Her thumb brushed against something on the handle markings Jonas had never noticed. She held it up to the light. Letters, carved into the leather wrapping, faded, almost invisible. E.M. 1862. Jonas's blood turned to ice. Where did you get that knife? The words came out strangled. Dahana looked at him strangely. It was my father's. He found it many years ago. She traced the letters with her fingernail. On a woman. By the river. She was already dead when he reached her, died giving birth. He said, the child survived. He brought the baby to a white settlement. Jonas couldn't breathe. Elizabeth McKenna, his mother. Born 1840, died 1864. That's what his father had always told him. Died bringing you into this world. Son. Nothing more. Never any details. The baby. Jonas whispered. What happened to the baby? My father left him with a preacher near Tucson. He never knew what became of the child. Dahana studied Jonas's face, seeing something shift behind his eyes. Why do you ask? Jonas opened his mouth to answer hoofbeats, dozens of them, coming fast from the west. He moved to the window. A new group of riders approached 50 warriors, maybe more. At their head rode a tall man with his hair pulled back in a tight knot. His bearing spoke of authority, of command. Nantan rose from the porch. For the first time, Jonas saw something like relief in the old warrior's eyes. Mangas, Nantan said. The tall rider dismounted before his horse fully stopped. He strode toward the house with the confidence of a man who expected the world to move aside for him. When he reached Jonas, he extended his hand palm up, the Apache way. Jonas McKenna. Mangas spoke English with barely any accent. I owe you a great debt. You saved someone precious to my people. Jonas shook the offered hand. The grip was firm, warm, genuine. Mangas reached into his saddlebag and produced a leather pouch. It clinked heavily when he placed it in Jonas's palm. $200 in gold? For your trouble? Mangas smiled a practiced expression, smooth as river stones. And for your continued hospitality. Keep her safe 2 more days. Then I will take her home, and you will never see us again. Jonas felt the weight of the gold. Enough to pay off Grimes, enough to save the ranch, enough to make all of this disappear. Finally, a way out. He nodded. 2 days. Mangas mounted his horse and rode toward his men, leaving Jonas standing on the porch with a fortune in his hands and something that felt almost like hope rising in his chest. Then Dahana's fingers closed around his wrist. Her grip was weak but desperate. Do not trust him. Jonas turned. Her face had gone pale again, her eyes wide with something beyond fear. He wants me dead too, she whispered. Mangas killed my father. Night fell like a black curtain across the Arizona sky. Jonas lit the coal oil lamp in the main room, its yellow flame casting long shadows on the walls. The gold pouch sat on the kitchen table where he'd left it untouched, heavy with promise and poison. Dahana's words echoed in his skull. Mangas killed my father. He wanted to disbelieve her, wanted to take the gold, pay his debts, and forget any of this had ever happened. But the look in her eyes, that wasn't the look of a liar. That was the look of someone who had seen the devil wearing a friendly face. The sound of wagon wheels broke the silence. Jonas moved to the window. A buckboard approached from the east road, lantern swinging from its front post. 2 men rode alongside it, rifles across their laps, even in the darkness. Jonas recognized the bulk of the man holding the reins. Walter Grimes, the banker who held Jonas's future in his fat, sweaty hands. The wagon stopped in front of the porch. Grimes climbed down with effort, his belly straining against his vest buttons. His eyes swept across the property, noting the warriors still visible on the distant hills, their silhouettes black against the star-filled sky. Jonas. Grimes didn't knock, just pushed open the door and walked inside. His hired men staying with the wagon. "Heard you got yourself some interesting company." Jonas positioned himself between Grimes and the bedroom doorway. "Word travels fast. In this territory, faster than fire." Grimes's gaze landed on the gold pouch. His tongue darted across his lips. "What's that?" "None of your concern." Grimes laughed, a wet, rattling sound. "Everything on this ranch is my concern, boy, until you pay what you owe." He waddled closer, reaching for the pouch. Jonas snatched it first. "I said it's not yours." The humor drained from Grimes's face. What replaced it was something cold, calculating. "Your loan comes due tomorrow. McKenna, $800. You got $800 hiding somewhere I don't know about?" Jonas said nothing. "That's what I thought." Grimes pulled a folded document from his coat pocket. "Bank takes possession at noon tomorrow. Unless..." His eyes drifted toward the bedroom. "Unless you got something else worth selling. Get out." Grimes ignored him. He moved toward the bedroom with surprising speed for a man his size. Jonas grabbed his arm, but the two hired men appeared in the doorway, rifles raised. "Easy now," Grimes said, shaking free. "Just want to see what all the fuss is about." He pushed into the bedroom. Dahana sat upright in the bed, her knife in her hand, but she was too weak to do more than hold it. Her arm trembled with the effort. Grimes's eyes went wide, not with fear, with greed. Well, an Apache woman. He stepped closer, examining her like livestock at auction. Young? Healthy enough? You know what she'd fetch down in Mexico, $1,000, easy. Maybe more if Dahana moved. Fast, despite her wounds. The knife slashed across Grimes's reaching hand, drawing blood. He howled, stumbling backward. His boot caught on the rug. He went down hard, crashing against the nightstand. The ceramic pitcher shattered, water splashed across the floor. And something else fell. A piece of paper folded, yellowed with age, had been hidden beneath the pitcher's base. It skidded across the wet floorboards and came to rest at Grimes's feet. He picked it up before Jonas could stop him, unfolded it with his bleeding hand, smearing red across the brittle paper. His face changed. The anger melted into something else entirely. Wonder, hunger, madness. "Mother of God," he breathed. Jonas grabbed the paper from his hands. It was a map hand-drawn, old. Landmarks marked in both Apache symbols and English words. Rivers, mountains, a canyon with no name. And at the center, a symbol Jonas didn't recognize, a circle with 4 lines extending outward, like a sun. Dahana's voice cut through the silence. "Give that back." Grimes was laughing now, blood dripping from his hand, forgotten. "The sacred gold, it's real. $50,000 in Apache treasure. Hidden for 100 years. He pointed at Dahana with a shaking finger. "And she knows where it is." Jonas looked at the map, then at Dahana. Her face had gone pale as bone. That's why they want her. Grimes continued, rising to his feet. Not politics, not power. Gold? Cochilo wants to torture it out of her. Mangas wants to charm it out of her. And now? He smiled, blood on his teeth. Now I want to buy it out of her. She's not for sale, Jonas said. Everything's for sale. Grimes took a step toward Dahana. Give me the location, girl. I'll split it with you, 50-50. You can disappear. New life, new name. Nobody has to. Cochilo is my brother. The words stopped Grimes mid-step. Even Jonas froze. Dahana's eyes were fixed on some distant point, her voice hollow. My real brother? Born 2 winters before me, during the Great Famine. My parents had no food. They left him in the desert to die so I could live. Tears carved tracks down her dust-covered cheeks. He survived. Another tribe found him, raised him, and when he learned the truth, when he discovered who had abandoned him, he came back. Jonas's mind raced. He doesn't want the gold for weapons. No. Dahana's hand moved to her stomach. He wants to destroy everything our father built, everything our father loved. He wants me dead because I am proof that our parents chose me over him. Her voice cracked. And he will burn this entire territory to the ground to get his revenge. A rifle shot exploded outside. Glass shattered. Grimes screamed, clutching his shoulder where an arrow, not a bullet, had suddenly appeared. He collapsed against the wall, blood blooming across his white shirt. Jonas hit the floor, pulling Dahana down with him. More arrows punched through the windows. The coal oil lamp exploded, plunging the room into darkness. Through the broken window, Jonas saw them coming, 200 warriors pouring down from the northern ridge. Torches blazing, rifles cracking. War cries splitting the night. Cochilo rode at their head, his face painted half black, half white. The face of vengeance, the face of death. From the west, Mangas and his 100 warriors charged to meet them. And from the south, Nantan's 300 remained still watching. Waiting, judging. 600 Apache warriors converging on Jonas McKenna's ranch. The ground itself seemed to tremble with their approach. Jonas pressed his back against the wall beneath the shattered window. Glass crunched under his boots. Dahana lay beside him, her breath coming in short. Pained gasps. Grimes whimpered in the corner, the arrow still protruding from his shoulder, dark blood pooling beneath him. Outside, chaos. Jonas risked a glance through the broken frame. His stomach dropped. To the north, Cochilo and 200 warriors, torches blazing, rifles raised. Their war cries echoed across the valley like the howling of wolves. To the west, Mangas and his 100 men, bows drawn, horses stamping nervously, they formed a defensive line but made no move to advance. To the south, Nantan's 300 sat motionless on the ridge, watching, always watching. Their silence was somehow more terrifying than the screaming. 600 warriors. Jonas's ranch sat at the center of a triangle of death. Cochilo's voice boomed across the darkness. His English was broken, but clear enough. Jonas McKenna, give me my sister, give me the map, you live. Jonas didn't answer. His hand found Dahana's in the darkness. Her fingers were cold, trembling. Cochilo rode closer, stopping just beyond rifle range. Firelight danced across his painted face, half black, half white. A face split between 2 worlds, belonging to neither. She is traitor. Cochilo's horse pawed at the earth. She chose white man's land over her own blood. She carries shame in her belly, a child of weakness. He spat on the ground. Give her to me. I will be merciful. Quick death, no pain. Jonas heard Dahana's sharp intake of breath beside him. Cochilo turned toward Mangus's line. And you protect her. You protect white man's whore. Our father's murderer stands with you, and still you defend him. Mangus's voice carried back, calm and cold. I defend peace, Cochilo. Something you never understood. Cochilo laughed, a sound like breaking bones. Peace. There is no peace. There is only victory or death. He raised his rifle toward the sky and fired. The crack echoed off the hills. Before the sun rises, this land will drink blood. Apache blood. White blood. All blood. Jonas pulled Dahana deeper into the house, away from the windows. They stumbled into the bedroom, Sarah's bedroom, and Jonas kicked the door shut behind them. Moonlight filtered through the single unbroken window, casting pale squares across the floor. Dahana collapsed onto the bed, her hands pressed against her stomach, her face contorted with pain. Something's wrong, she gasped. Jonas knelt beside her. The baby. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. It hurts. It hurts so much. Jonas had seen this before. 3 years ago. Sarah had no. He couldn't think about that now. He grabbed clean cloths from the dresser, the same cloths he'd used to bandage Dahana's feet. As he turned back, his eyes caught the photograph on the nightstand. Sarah's face smiled up at him, frozen in a moment before everything shattered. Dahana followed his gaze, even through her pain. She saw something in his expression. Your wife, she whispered. How did she really die? The question hit Jonas like a physical blow. He'd told no one the truth, not the sheriff, not the preacher, not a single soul in 3 years. But here, in this room where Sarah had slept, with death circling outside like vultures, the words came. She didn't die of sickness. Jonas's voice sounded strange to his own ears, flat, hollow. I lied. To everyone. He sat on the edge of the bed, the cloths forgotten in his hands, his eyes fixed on the photograph. 3 years ago, I rode to Tucson to sell cattle, left Sarah alone for 2 days. When I came back, he swallowed. The house was empty, furniture broken, blood on the floor. Dahana said nothing, just listened. They left a note. 5 men outlaws. I thought. Wanted $500. Told me to bring it to Black Canyon by sunset the next day, or they'd sell her across the border. Jonas's hands began to shake. He pressed them flat against his thighs. I rode to every ranch, every store, every friend I had, begging for money. $500? That's all. But no one would help. No one had it to spare. His jaw tightened. I scraped together 300. Rode all night to reach the canyon. A tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. I was late. 1 hour. Just 1 hour. Dahana reached for his hand. Her grip was weak but warm. When I found her, she was alive. But his voice broke. They had done things to her, things I can't speak aloud. She looked at me with these eyes, these broken eyes, and she said she was sorry. She was sorry. Jonas's whole body trembled now. Before I could reach her, she grabbed a knife from one of them, and he couldn't finish, couldn't say the words. Dahana understood. She died in my arms, still apologizing, like it was her fault, like she had failed me. Jonas looked at Dahana, his eyes red and swollen. I was late. 1 hour. If I had ridden faster, borrowed less, begged harder, it wasn't your fault. I killed 3 of them. The other 2 escaped. I never found them, never learned who hired them. A wet laugh came from the doorway. Grimes. Somehow, the fat banker had dragged himself across the house, leaving a trail of blood behind him. He leaned against the doorframe, pale as death, the arrow still buried in his shoulder. Never learned who hired them. Grimes coughed, blood speckling his lips. I'll tell you. For a price. Jonas was on his feet before he knew he'd moved. His hand closed around Grimes's throat, slamming him against the wall. Who? Grimes smiled, a grotesque, dying thing. It was business, McKenna, just business. Your land sits on the only water source for 20 miles, worth a fortune to the right buyer. He wheezed. I needed you desperate enough to sell. Thought if your wife was gone, you'd have nothing left to fight for. The world went red. You! Jonas's grip tightened. You killed her. I didn't kill anyone. I just arranged things. Grimes's eyes bulged. The men went too far. That wasn't part of the plan. I swear. Jonas squeezed harder. Grimes's face turned purple. His legs kicked weakly against the wall. Jonas. Dahana's voice, faint but steady. Don't become him. Jonas's hand trembled. Every fiber of his being screamed for blood, for justice, for the revenge he'd dreamed of for 3 years. But Dahana's eyes held him, reminded him of Sarah's eyes in those final moments. He released Grimes. The banker crumpled to the floor. Gasping, Grimes looked up, blood and spit dripping from his chin. You're weak, McKenna, just like your wife was. She couldn't even a gunshot. Grimes jerked once and went still. A hole bloomed in his chest, perfectly centered. Jonas spun toward the window. Cochillo sat on his horse just outside, rifle smoking. His painted face split into a grin. White man kills white man, he called out. Perfect justice. He lowered the rifle. Now, McKenna, give me my sister. Last chance. Behind Jonas, Dahana screamed. He turned. Blood soaked through her dress, spreading across the sheets. Her hands clutched her stomach as her body convulsed. The baby. She was losing the baby. Jonas fell to his knees beside her. Blood everywhere, on his hands, on the bed, on Sarah's photograph, knocked to the floor in the chaos. He looked at his palms stained red with Grimes's blood and Dahana's blood, mixing together, indistinguishable. From outside, Nantan's voice rose above the chaos. Jonas, McKenna, what do you choose? Jonas looked at the dying woman before him, then at the body of the man who destroyed his life, then at the photograph of Sarah, smiling up from a pool of blood. He had nothing left. No wife, no money, no hope. Only a choice that felt like no choice at all. I choose her, he whispered. Jonas worked through the blood. His hands moved without thought, pressing cloth against Dahana's wounds, elevating her legs, doing everything Sarah had taught him about stopping hemorrhage. She'd learned it from her mother, a midwife who delivered half the babies in the territory. The bleeding slowed, not stopped, but slowed. Dahana's eyes fluttered open, weak, terrified, but alive. The baby, she whispered. Jonas shook his head. He didn't know. Couldn't know. But the bleeding had eased, and that meant something. It had to mean something. Outside, Cochillo's patience had run dry. His warriors began circling the house, torches held high. The smell of smoke crept through the broken windows. Jonas stood. His legs felt like water. but they held him. He walked to the door, opened it, stepped onto the porch. 600 warriors stared back at him. Cuchillo to the north, Mangas to the west, Nantan to the south, all waiting, all watching. Jonas raised his voice. It came out stronger than he expected, forged in grief, tempered by rage, hardened by loss. I don't choose any of you. Silence. Even the horses stopped moving. Cuchillo's painted face twisted. What? You heard me. Jonas stepped off the porch, his boots crunching on dry earth. You want to kill each other? You want to burn everything down, do it somewhere else? Not on my land, not over my dead wife's grave. Mangas urged his horse forward. McKenna, be reasonable. Give us Dahana. We'll protect her. This doesn't have to protect her. Jonas laughed a bitter, broken sound. You knew about Sarah. You knew where they were holding her, and you did nothing. Mangas's expression flickered, just for a moment. But Jonas caught it. Yeah, Dahana told me. Jonas's hands curled into fists. You could have saved my wife, but you chose politics over her life. Over my life. He spat on the ground. So don't talk to me about protection. Cuchillo threw his head back and laughed. The white man has teeth after all. He raised his rifle. But teeth won't stop bullets. Last chance. McKenna, step aside. Jonas didn't move. Instead, he walked back to the house and emerged carrying Dahana in his arms. She weighed almost nothing. Blood loss and exhaustion had drained her to a shadow. He laid her down on the porch, gently, carefully. Then he stood over her, facing the 600 warriors alone. You want her, come take her. He spread his arms wide. But you'll have to go through me first. And when I'm dead, you'll have to live with what you've done. All of you. No one moved. Jonas knelt beside Dahana. He pulled off his shirt and tore it into strips, binding her wounds with steady hands. The night air bit at his bare skin, but he didn't flinch. He began to hum, low and soft, a lullaby Sarah used to sing on nights when the coyotes howled too close. Dahana's breathing steadied. Her hand found his and squeezed weakly. Thank you, she murmured, for not being late. The words cracked something open in Jonas's chest. 3 years of guilt. 3 years of nightmares. 3 years of believing he'd failed the only person who mattered. Tears fell onto Dahana's bandages. He didn't try to hide them. From the southern ridge, movement. Nantan urged his horse forward, descending the slope in slow, measured steps. His 300 warriors remained behind, watching their leader approach alone. Cuchillo tensed. Old man, what are you doing? Nantan didn't answer. He rode until he reached Jonas and Dahana. Then he dismounted and walked the final steps on foot. He stood over Jonas, looked down at the white man cradling the Apache woman, saw the blood, the tears, the complete absence of fear. Then Nantan did something no one expected. He turned his back to Cuchillo, faced outward, placed himself between Jonas and the 200 warriors, a declaration, a shield. This man has proven his spirit, Nantan said, his voice carried across the valley. He did not run, he did not bargain, he did not surrender the woman to save himself. The old warrior drew his knife not to attack, but to hold before him like a sacred object. He is under my protection now. Any who harm him answer to me. On the southern ridge, 300 warriors began to move. They flowed down the hillside like water, spreading out in a wide arc around the ranch. Within minutes, they had formed a protective circle, Jonas and Dahana at the center, Nantan's men facing outward toward both Cochillo and Mangas. Cochillo's face contorted with rage. "You choose a white man over your own blood?" Nantan's response was quiet, but carried the weight of mountains. "I choose honor over hatred." Mangas edged his horse forward, speaking quickly. "This is madness. We don't need to fight. Cochillo, stand down. We can negotiate." "Negotiate." Cochillo whirled on him. "You speak of negotiation while standing on sacred ground." The words hung in the air. Even the wind seemed to stop. Mangas went pale. "What did you say?" Cochillo pointed at the earth beneath Jonas's feet. "You don't know. None of you know." His laughter was wild now, unhinged. "This land, this white man's ranch, stands on the burial place of Chief Naiche, our grandfather, our ancestor, the greatest warrior our people ever knew." Jonas felt the ground shift beneath him. Not physically, but something changed. The weight of history pressed down on this patch of earth. Nantan's eyes widened. He looked at the ground, then at the house, then at Jonas with new understanding. "The spirits brought him here," Nantan murmured. "Brought her to him. On this ground, of all grounds." Cochillo snarled. Spirits superstition. He kicked his horse forward, drawing his knife. "I'll show you what the spirits think of your white man." He charged. Jonas had no weapon, no defense. He threw himself over Dahana, shielding her body with his own. Rusty exploded from the house, a blur of fur and teeth. The dog launched himself at Cochillo's horse, jaws clamping onto the animal's front leg. The horse screamed, reared. Cochillo flew from the saddle, crashing to the dirt. His knife skittered away into the darkness. He scrambled up, fury twisting his features, and lunged at Jonas with bare hands. Jonas met him, not with fists, with an embrace. He wrapped his arms around Cochillo and held tight, locked his hands behind the warrior's back, squeezed with everything he had. Cochillo thrashed, clawed at Jonas's bare back, drawing blood. But Jonas didn't let go. "I won't fight you," Jonas said through gritted teeth. "I won't let go either." They struggled in the dirt. Cochillo's nails raked skin. His teeth snapped near Jonas's ear. But Jonas held on a man drowning, clinging to the only solid thing in a sea of violence. 10 of Nantan's warriors rushed forward. They pulled Cochillo away, binding his arms with leather straps. He screamed curses in Apache, thrashing like a wild animal. Then a new sound cut through the chaos. Hoofbeats, a single rider approaching from the east. Everyone turned. An old woman sat atop a gray mare. Her hair flowed white as snow, her face lined with decades of wisdom and power. She wore the ceremonial dress of a shaman, beads and feathers and bones rattling with each movement. Nantan dropped to his knees. So did every warrior in his 300. Even Mangas bowed his head. Only Cochillo remained upright, restrained by his captors, eyes blazing with recognition and something like fear. The old woman's gaze swept across the scene. The blood, the bodies. The white man standing bare-chested over an Apache woman. When she spoke, her voice was thin as paper but carried like thunder. "I am Halona, medicine woman of the 7 clans." Her eyes fixed on Jonas. "And you, white man, will speak your truth." Now, Jonas stood before Halona. Blood dripped from the scratches on his back. His bare chest heaved with exhaustion. But he did not speak. Instead, he turned and walked into the house. Every warrior watched. Every eye followed. The silence stretched so thin it might shatter. Jonas emerged carrying objects in his arms. One by one, he laid them on the ground before Halona's horse. Sarah's bone comb, 3 teeth broken, ivory yellowed with age. The Apache knife with his mother's initials carved into the leather. The map to the sacred gold, blood-stained from Grimes's dying hands. The pouch of gold Mangas had given him. And finally, the photograph. Sarah's face smiled up from the cracked glass, frozen forever in a moment of joy. Jonas stepped back. He had no words. These objects were his testimony. Halona dismounted slowly, her old bones creaking. She knelt before the items, studying each one with ancient eyes. Her fingers traced the initials on the knife handle, lingered on Sarah's photograph, touched the bloodstains on the map. When she looked up, her gaze found Dahana on the porch. Daughter of Nantaje. Speak. Dahana pulled herself upright, gripping the porch railing for support. Her voice was weak but clear. This man saved me when I was dying. He gave me water, carried me on his back, put me in his dead wife's bed, and tended my wounds through the night. She paused, gathering strength. He did not touch me, did not chain me, did not sell me. He had every reason to hate my people, and still he showed mercy. Halona nodded slowly. Then her eyes moved to Mangas. And you, son of the shaman, what have you done? Mangas sat straighter on his horse. I came to protect Dahana, to bring her home safely. I offered this man gold for his trouble. You offered him blood money. The words cracked like a whip. Mangas flinched. Dahana spoke again, stronger now. Tell them, Mangas, tell them what you did 3 winters ago. Tell them about Sarah McKenna. The name rippled through the gathered warriors, whispers in Apache, confused glances. Mangas's jaw tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. Liar. Dahana's eyes blazed. I found my father's records, his journals. He wrote everything down, including the messages you sent him. She pointed at Mangas with a trembling finger. You knew about the kidnapping. Your scouts saw the white men drag Sarah McKenna into Black Canyon. They reported it to you. And you did nothing. Jonas's blood turned to ice. He'd accused Mangas earlier. But hearing the details, hearing how close salvation had been, Mangus's composure cracked. It was a difficult time. We were negotiating peace with the white government. If we had interfered, a woman was being tortured. Dahana's voice broke. She died because you chose politics over her life. I had no choice. You always have a choice. Halona raised her hand. Both fell silent. The old medicine woman turned to Mangas. Her voice was soft as falling ash. Is this true you knew and did nothing? Mangas's shoulders sagged. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, quietly, yes, I knew. My men could have reached them in time. I ordered them to stand down. A sound escaped Jonas's throat, something between a moan and a growl. 3 years of grief crystallized into a single, terrible clarity. He crossed the distance to Mangas in 4 strides. His hand closed around the warrior's collar, dragging him from his horse. They hit the ground together. Jonas on top, his fist raised. 100 warriors knocked arrows. Strings creaked. Jonas. Dahana's cry pierced the red haze. Don't. His fist trembled in the air. Every muscle screamed for violence. for justice, for the blood debt that could never truly be paid. Mangas looked up at him. No fear in his eyes, only resignation, acceptance. Do it, Mangas whispered. I deserve it. Jonas's arm shook, tears blurred his vision. Sarah's face flashed through his mind. Not the broken woman in Black Canyon, the living woman who danced with him on their wedding day, who'd laughed at his terrible jokes, who'd held him through nightmares and kissed him awake each morning. What would she want? He knew the answer, had always known. His fist unclenched. He released Mangas's collar and stood, stepping back. I forgive you. The words tasted like broken glass, but they were true. I forgive you. Jonas repeated, louder. Not because you deserve it, you don't, but because carrying this hate is killing me. And Sarah. His voice cracked. Sarah wouldn't want me to become a murderer, not even for her. He bent and picked up the gold pouch, pressed it into Mangas's chest. Keep your blood money. Build something good with it. That's your penance. Mangas stared at him. Something shifted in the warrior's eyes, shame. Perhaps, or the first stirrings of redemption. A scream shattered the moment. Cochillo had broken free. His guards lay groaning on the ground, caught off guard by his sudden violence. He'd snatched a knife from one of them and now charged toward Dahana on the porch. If I can't have you, no one will. Jonas spun too slow, too far away. But Nantan was closer. The old warrior threw himself into Cochillo's path. The knife meant for Dahana plunged into Nantan's shoulder instead. He grunted, stumbling, but his arms locked around Cochillo's waist. They fell together in a tangle of limbs. Jonas sprinted to the porch, putting himself between Dahana and the struggling men. Behind him, warriors rushed forward, finally subduing Cochillo with ropes and weight of numbers. Nantan lay on his back, blood spreading across his buckskin shirt. But he was smiling. Got him? The old warrior wheezed. Told you, I choose honor. Jonas knelt beside him, pressing cloth against the wound. Stay with me. You're going to be fine. I've had worse. Nantan's eyes found Jonas's. You are a good man, white man. I was right about you. Warriors carried Cochillo away, still thrashing, still screaming curses. His voice faded into the night, growing smaller until it disappeared entirely. Halona approached. Her shadow fell across Jonas and Nantan like a blessing. The trial is complete, she announced. Her voice carried across the valley, reaching every warrior. I have seen what I needed to see. She touched her staff to Jonas's shoulder. The wood was smooth, polished by generations of hands. You, Jonas McKenna, have proven your spirit. You showed mercy when you could have shown violence. You forgave when you had every right to hate. You protected a stranger at the cost of your own blood. She paused. You are now friend to our people. This land is protected ground. She turned to Dahana, touched her forehead gently. Daughter of Nantajay, you are free. Choose your own path. Then to Mangas, you are forgiven by this man. But you must earn forgiveness from your people. Build the school you promised, feed the hungry, use your gold for good. Finally, to the darkness where Cochillo had been taken. The one called Cochillo is exiled. He may never return. His name is ash. His memory is wind. A murmur ran through the warriors. Some nodded, others wept. All understood. Halona raised her staff toward the sky. Dawn was breaking pink and gold, spilling over the eastern mountains. It is finished. 600 warriors knelt as one. The sound of their knees hitting earth rolled like thunder across the valley. Even Mangas bowed his head. Jonas stood alone among them, the only figure still upright. Not from pride, from shock, from the overwhelming realization of what had just happened. Dahana's hand found his. She had limped down from the porch, leaning heavily on the railing. But she was beside him now. "What happens now?" Jonas asked. Dahana looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. But she was smiling. "Now," she said, "we build something new." Halona mounted her horse. Before she rode away, she looked back at Jonas one final time. "The spirits chose you for a reason, white man. Do not waste their gift." She disappeared into the dawn light, leaving Jonas standing in the center of 600 kneeling warriors, holding the hand of the woman he'd saved and wondering if perhaps, after all these years, he had finally been saved too. Somewhere out there, Sarah was watching. He believed that now. A small bird landed on the fence post, brown and ordinary. It sang 3 notes, then flew away. Jonas smiled. Family wasn't always blood. Sometimes it was simply the people who showed up when you needed them most and never left. Jonas McKenna's story is based on true events from the Arizona Territory, 1884. His ranch still stands today, now a small museum where Apache and American children learn history side by side. But this story isn't really about Jonas. It's about a question we all face. How many times have we been 1 hour late to help someone who needed us? How many times have we chosen the easy path over the right one? How many times have we carried hatred when forgiveness would have set us free? Jonas wasn't a hero. He was a broken man who made one good decision at the exact right moment. And that single act of kindness changed everything for him. For Dahana. For 2 peoples who had been at war for generations. Sometimes the smallest choice creates the biggest ripple. If this story reminded you of someone who showed up for you when no one else did leave their name below, they deserve to be remembered. If you've ever been given a second chance, you didn't expect, type, "I won't be late," in the comments. And if you believe that family is more than blood, share this story with someone who proves that truth every day. Some bridges are built with wood and stone. Others are built with mercy. Which kind are you building?